Hey, it's Caroline, career and leadership coach. And today I want to talk to you about 5 strategies you can use to prepare yourself for an executive or senior level position, interview position. Now, the reason why this is important is because I see people, the clients that I work with, our senior managers, our executives, they make these mistakes all the time. And I'm not going to share with you the typical things like make a list of your achievements and do some research, because you know these things. So I'm going to delve a little bit deeper to give you real insights about the changes you need to make to really have a competitive advantage that you bring into the interview. Because I can promise you, people that are invited for an interview at your level, whether that is a senior manager's position, general manager's, executive position, whatever it is, they have the same capability to do the job. So it's not about demonstrating your capability anymore. It's so much more. So what I also want you to know is the stages of the interview that are very critical and important. The first stage of the interview is the preparation. And here is what goes wrong with a lot of people, for a lot of people. The second stage of the interview is the interview itself. It is storytelling. And that's why we use, for example, the STAR approach. Most people know it. The execution and delivery of the STAR approach, most people mess it up. It's really something difficult to do if you don't have somebody practicing with you. And that could be somebody that knows you, somebody, a coach like myself, but you have to have interview training, and definitely at your level. Don't wing it anymore. So it's storytelling that you need to do during the interview, because storytelling is how people buy into you, into your brand. So it's emotional storytelling. So, and the last part is like at the end of the interview, most people disregard this moment. So it's not about information gathering and asking questions about like, oh, what's the structure of the company, or how many people will I work with? All important questions, but that is just going to give you information. So what you need to do at the end of the interview is asking strategic questions that position yourself, that position you as a suitable candidate, as a candidate that can solve whatever problem or whatever the reason is that they are really hiring for that position. So those are the stages of the interview that you need to be aware of and need to control in order for you to stand out in the interview. But for today, what we're going to do is zoom in specifically on the preparation that you can do. And I'm going to cover 5 elements that are important for your preparation. And the first thing that you can do is explore and activate your internal sponsors. So when you get invited for an executive or senior leadership position, really investigate what your network is like, who you know in the company, and who you then can approach and activate. Because what you will ultimately want to do is get insiders information. Yes, of course, HR or an internal recruiter or an external recruiter might have sent you a job description. Well done. Yes. But a job description, as you know, rarely reflects completely and utterly what the job is about. Like, how many people have really seen a job description and then landed a job that is actually completely different? Like, to give you an example, people within my program, they often say, like, because we have a diversifying your job search strategy approach, so a very different approach, and they come and figure out that the job description is totally not a reflection of what the hiring manager or decision maker is really looking for. So don't rely on a job description. Make sure you identify, you research, you identify, and you activate your sponsors, your internal sponsors. Why do I say activate? So a client of mine, an executive, he applied for a job a while ago, and before he worked with me, and then he said like, oh yeah, that company, really like that company, and they were looking for a position, and I knew two people on the board, but so I sent my resume to the recruiter and the internal recruiter, and I got a rejection email. And I said to him, like, did you speak to the people on the board? He said like, no. But I said like, why not use that knowledge? Because what an internal recruiter or HR professional does, and I've been in their place, and you have like exceptions, but most of the time they rely on the job description that's been passed on, and they look at keywords, but they don't know the intricacies of the job because they're not a hiring manager, and their job is like they have a multitude of things to do. So they're not experts in every single job that we're recruiting for, nor should they be. But for you to not activate your network, if you have the opportunity and if you know people, even if it's through other connections, that is a waste of opportunity. And so he went back, and guess what? They didn't hire that position, and he got the job. So you see how identifying and activating your network is critical in this position. And even if you self-doubt, like, oh, am I good enough? I don't want to bother them. Put your own concerns, self-doubt, imposter syndrome aside, because that is not going to help you and serve you. So, because the result is going to be like you're one in a million candidates anyway that are applying, maybe not a million, I'm exaggerating, but you're one in a couple of hundred candidates that will be applying for that job. So why not use everything in your power to make sure you stand out? So that's the first thing. The second thing that I want to make sure that you do, the second strategy, is link your experience to the job. Now, it's very rare that you will go for a position that exactly is the same than your position in the exact level, the exact industry, this exact type of company, maybe a competitor. Yes, that happens. But even if you're slightly outside, so that means that you have to rely on transferable skills. When people don't know your reputation, when it's a different size of company, it's different size of budget, make sure everything that you explain is linked. So in your interview preparation, you have to ideally understand what the real challenges are, what the real priorities are, and then basically look at your experience and link that specifically to what they are looking for and in the interview, so that when you have a storytelling approach, that you can really connect that. And not a lot of people connect that. They tell fantastic stories because, again, if you're at that level of a senior manager, executive, you know your stuff, you know your achievements. So it's not about understanding them, it's linking it to the other person's problem, so they feel that you have done whatever they're looking to achieve, that you have that experience, that you have that capability, that commercial strategic view of everything. And that is key, that connection that you need to make. So really, really dive into it. And even if you think like, yeah, that's obvious. No, it's not. You need to really spell it out. And definitely if you have people that don't know you and don't know your reputation. So really take the time. And in the preparation, yes, you practice. Of course, you practice the interview questions and like your box standard interview questions and everything else. But in your practice, that connection, that link is really critical. So then leading from that, we go into the third strategy. And the third strategy is a shift you need to make. And this is so critical that I see so many professionals do wrong at all levels. And that is the current personal brand shifting into a leadership personal brand. So the current personal brand is like, hey, I've got the skills and experience, please hire me. Personal brand. They have to shift that into a leadership personal brand. And they have to think about like a couple of elements. They have to think about what is the strategy, what is the execution, who are the stakeholders, and who is the team. Those four components should be incorporated in every single one of your answers, because it's not, and I repeat, it is not a demonstration of your capabilities anymore. Because again, everybody that's invited for that interview has the capabilities. So it's about your leadership skills, how you demonstrate your leadership skills. So you have to make a shift from a personal brand that like has a bunch of skills and experience to really that leadership brand, and being able to sell yourself in that interview. Because most people, like if you're anything like most of my clients, then you're waffling in an interview, you're very uncomfortable, you tense up, and basically that is not leadership material. Those are not leadership qualities. And even though you might be very good as a leader in an interview, most people really like get very tense. And that's basically the fourth strategy. And that might be a very easy strategy for a lot of people to do, but that is be smiling in an interview, being engaging in an interview, and show some personality. This is not like getting hired for and being like just like a cookie cutter. This is for a leadership position. So it's so important that you show some personality, that you don't have a facade in front of you, that you show that you have that cultural fit. And if there is no cultural fit, that's fine too. You don't want to work in an organization where you don't have that fit. So don't be afraid to show your personality. And if you really like disconnected with that, then think about, how would my friends describe me? Am I loud, energetic? Do I say my opinion? Then that is your personality. Like, or are you more like really like reserved and really analytical and looking? Then that is it. But to just like write something down about your personality so that you actually have an understanding what your personal approach is to that leadership. And there is no right or wrong. There is only your authentic approach. And authenticity is attractive. So it's so important that you show up in the interview, not only showing your capabilities, not only showing your leadership, but also that you show your authenticity, because that's how people can feel that there is a cultural fit and cultural match. So in that strategy would also be smiling, and definitely if you're on Zoom. So if you have video interviews, like you have a lot of interviews these days, are through Zoom or on video. And so basically make sure that my tip to everybody in my program is like put a post-it note next to your camera where you actually put a smiley face. So you smile, because that is engaging. That is really important in an interview, that you don't forget to really like come across as a person like, oh my God, I can see her working the team. I can see her being engaging. I can see her leading that project. So don't be an ice cube. Be like a very engaging person. And that is also important in an interview. Don't be a sitting duck. Most people are just like, okay, let them fire away questions, and they're like a sitting duck. And basically at the end of the interview, it's like, finally, it's over. But basically it's not the way it works. That's not how you stand out. That's not how you get a second interview and a job offer at the end of it. It's about your engagement. So think about like, what are the topics that they ask for based on the job description, that you can engage with, that you can ask questions around, that you can have an interaction and a two-way conversation, because that is how you build rapport with other people. And so, and then the last part, we already like touched on it, is the end of the interview. That is critical. Most people ask, like I mentioned before, very generic information gathering questions, which are important questions. Don't get me wrong, you need to ask those questions, but those questions are questions like, okay, tell me about your internal the team structure, tell me about the budget, tell me about this, tell me about that, blah 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 blah. You get a lot of information. That's information gathering questions. Again, they are important. They have a place in the interview process. But what you want to do first off is ask at least three strategic questions. And I call them questions where you can confirmation questions. So you can confirm your suitability for a certain position. So, for example, you can refer to something that has been said in the interview. So you demonstrate listening skills and really like comprehension skills, and say like, okay, you spoke about that transformation, or you asked me a question about that transformation, or my transformation skills, or my change skills, or my agility skills, or resilience skills, whatever. Like, what's currently happening in your organization where you see that is really an important skill to have? Or and basically they say something like, oh yeah, we're currently going to a massive organizational shift and blah blah blah, and then you say, oh, actually, like, that's exactly what I have done at a company, blah blah blah, ABC. We went through quite a similar situation, and the challenges we came up with, these challenges, are those the challenges that you see also? Or different challenges? And that's how you actually start to really incorporate that engagement. And that is so important. So just to give you an idea, I'm just making this up on the spot here, guys. This is not something that you have to write down, but I hope that this gives you an idea about asking questions at the end of the interview. There is so much more than just asking information gathering questions. Again, they are important, but ask questions that are confirming your suitability for the position, because there are two moments of the interview that they remember. That's just remember the most. Let me rephrase that. Remember the most. That's the beginning of the interview, and that's the end of the interview. So in the beginning of the interview, you give the best possible impression. And this is about like the tell me about yourself question. We have a specific strategy on how to do that. I will copy a link to a live or a video I did about that, so you can have a look at that also. So the beginning of the interview is very important, and the end of the interview is very important. So because you give the best first impression and you give the best last impression. So those moments are critical. Anyway, so I hope these 5 strategies really gave you some inspirations and some really food for thought, basically, on what to do and how to prepare for your senior level position or interview or executive interview. So if you need help with these things, because interviewing for a position or getting an interview for a senior level position is already like a word celebration, but you haven't closed the deal yet. So if you need help preparing for that interview and preparing yourself and shifting your brand from your current personal brand to your leadership personal brand, then reach out to me. This is what I do. I help my clients reposition themselves, even though they have all the skills and experience and I have been operating at that level for years. Often their resume or their interview skills, they haven't caught up because they haven't been doing that for a long time, or they haven't sent out their resume for a long time, or they haven't really interviewed for a long time. So if that is you, reach out and get some professional help, because you will gain so much benefit from it. I will pop a link below also, so you can go and book in a call with me. And I pinky promise with you that this is not going to be a sales call. This is not going to be one of those yucky sales calls. This is going to be a conversation between you and I, very down to earth, very honest, and very open about where you're at the moment, the roadblocks or the challenges that you see at the moment, and where you want to be. And then we will talk also about how I can help you get there faster and quicker, because this is all what I'm all about, is focusing on the things that really are essential to you, and really knowing how to shift your personal brand is going to be of benefit not only in your job search, but also when you land your position, your next level position, and for the rest of your career. So don't hesitate to really invest time and also money in that to make sure you've got that right, because those are essential skills for your success. Anyway, if you enjoyed what I spoke about today, give me a thumbs up. It's always good to know that what I've been talking about resonates with people that I in my community. And if we are not connected, if you randomly came across this video, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm all about connecting with more people, and so I can help more people transform their career in general. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, make sure to direct message me or send me an email, and I would be happy to help you further. Thank you so much, and see you later. Bye.